worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Once again, Big King Sadiq hollering at you. All right. Real interesting subject that we're going to talk about quickly. And that is the fact that human beings are what we'll term fractals of our creator. Right? All right. By the way, once again, another beautiful day. We've had a nice little rain, right? A little holy water coming down. Nice little rain after an extremely hot spell, which fine by me. But yeah, a lot of folks, I'm sure, looking forward to a cooler night. But beautiful, plenty of opportunities to spread peace, love, respect, right? Okay, so yeah, this is a subject I find very interesting. I guess the best place to start with this is having a solid understanding of what we're talking about when we say a fractal, right? Let's try and do a little visualization, right? Let's picture a sheep, okay? One single solitary sheep. And let's literally focus on that as a picture, like a picture on your wall, right? Let's say it's just a picture, a solid picture of a blue sheep, all right? So this blue sheep, as you enter the room and walk closer to the portrait, you realize as you get up on it and examine it that it's actually made up of probably about 500 very small sheep, each of which is an exact replica or an exact match of the larger picture of the sheep in its totality, right? So, you have not that, or not just that, each of the sheep you could view almost as a piece to the overall total puzzle that makes up the larger sheep, right? So each of those smaller sheep is a puzzle piece, but it in itself, each piece is also the whole, right? It's the same thing as the whole, just a smaller version that is part of the whole. All right. That's what we are, energetically, spiritually. Human beings are spiritual, energetic fractals of our Creator's energy, source energy, right? Everything in creation emanates from one source. Even science cannot topple that one, right? Modern mainstream science that might turn their heads away from the concept of the Creator, right? To me, when you look at it with all disciplines, you know, mainstream science, metaphysics, quantum physics, spirituality, any discipline you might want to apply. It is inescapable that there is one true creator and sustainer of everything that ever was, does, and ever shall exist. There is one source that always has existed and shall exist, is infinite in nature, right? This is the source from which all energy springs. Our previous videos, you may recall, we discussed that all things are made up of matter and or energy. We even discussed it a little further in stating that, in fact, even mainstream science is catching up to the fact that matter itself is actually energy, for lack of a better way to describe it, that doesn't include a long additional half-hour conversation. That's another video, but matter is energy, for lack of a simpler way to, or trying to maintain a simple way to say it, it is energy that is slowed down in its vibrational frequency to a solidified state. That's what physical matter is. Energy that is vibrating at a slower frequency. All right. So, since we deduce that all things are comprised of matter and energy, and that matter and energy all springs from one source, then certainly all things spring from our creative source. All right. So, we, in fact, are of that creative energy. And the special thing about human beings is that we are actually living fractals of that energy. We're little creator beings. And this is the truth of our true potential. I know I stated something very profound in a very mundane manner, right? But that's the bottom line. We are, in fact, creator beings in our own right, which is why I continue to speak about how we need to and how we manifest our reality constantly, whether it be conscious or subconscious, right? But we're constantly creating our own reality, constantly manifesting, constantly creating. We are creator beings, fractals of our creator, in the same way that those small sheep that I mentioned in the afore described picture of the larger sheep, we would be those many, many small sheep. Instead of 500 of us, who knows, there's an infinite number of creations likely. And all sentient beings are in some way fractals of our creator. And certainly human beings and our pure creative nature and our pure energetic spiritual state, we are fractals of our Creator. Quite honestly, that is the potential of the human race, right? Quite honestly, that is the true focus of what would have been referred to as the Jesus gospel. That the Catholic Church, that the churches in general, certainly don't want the average Christian to believe, I would have to say, given their doctrine. That's my opinion based on what I observed their doctrine to be. That is my personal opinion. And certainly it's part of the secret that the secret societies want to keep secret. Folks, it's all about the potential of the human being and us manifesting what we can call our best selves, right? Being healthy, vibrant, expressive, free-thinking, powerful, creative beings. That is what we should be and have the potential to be, on a scale the likes of which may test our imagination, right? Because again, I pose to you that that was the message given us by Jesus, if you're of the Christian faith, or Prophet Isa, if you are of the Islamic faith, or any of the figures that, if you check, would actually have lifetimes that resemble the lifetime of Jesus or Prophet Isa quite a bit, right? But of course we can't get away from, in fact, that the story of Horus predates all of that. But it is all the same general message, that man's true potential is great indeed, right? And I don't mean that in a sexist way. Woman's true potential is great indeed, right? Human beings have an incredible potential that it's time for us to realize. And I believe that the first part of us realizing that is that we must be able to fully embrace and encapsulate the fact that we are fractals of our Creator, right? And think of our potential from that point, rather than what we perceive ourselves to be in this limited perception that is purely physical. We have to expand our minds. We have to, folks. I know that we've all gotten comfortable in the old paradigm and the limited expectations that we've placed on ourselves, right? The limited expectations that society has steered us toward having for ourselves, right? We have been trained to not, in fact, be free thinkers, yet to be beings that require other beings to tell us how to operate. That's dependency. That's not sovereignty, right? We are sentient, sovereign beings that should be operating in that manner. Quite simply put, we think too low of ourselves. We think too low of ourselves. And we've got to not continue to do that. A good way to change that perception is that age-old phrase, know thyself, right? And that means doing some free-thinking research on your own. You know, not a lot. I know you don't have hours to dedicate to doing that. But that 15, 20 minutes that you spend on your phone doing something that's totally non-productive and not beneficial toward you becoming your best you, right? That 15 minutes, take that and use it to look up and start learning something about yourself. Learn about this pineal gland, or which really the pineal organ that everybody keeps talking about. Why are people talking about that so much now? Why is that now so important? Right? Learn about that. Learn about melanin. All of us have melanin, all races. Right? Let's clear that up. All races have melanin. All people, all beings have melanin. Plants even have melanin that we term chlorophyll. Okay? Melanin is a very necessary and incredible molecule that is essential to our proper function, and certainly essential to us achieving our highest selves, right? Manifesting, actualizing, realizing our true potential, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Why would we not want to? Why would we? I again turn back to when I was in high school, and we would often in either science or biology or some health related course be talking about the fact that human beings utilize only a small percentage of our potential, you know, in those areas, and that we know that to be a fact. So all I'm saying is, why are we comfortable with it? Right? Why in fact would we be comfortable with being 30% of ourselves? Right? Think about that. Think about that for a minute. If we were using 50% of our potential in those areas, in all areas, why would we be comfortable being only 50% of ourselves? It doesn't make sense. Except that this is a society that lulls you to sleep in the rat race, that keeps you busy worrying about survival, not giving you enough time to realize these things, because there are folks, these socio-economic elite individuals at the top pulling our strings, so to speak, that want you to not understand your potential. Because if you did understand your potential and we're not operating at 30, 40, or 50%, but operating at 90 or 100% of yourself, then you'd be sovereign, right? You'd be sovereign. You wouldn't be someone who can be told what to do or what to think or how to perceive things, or what to fear or what not to fear, or how to protect yourself or not protect yourself, how to heal, any of these things, how to govern yourselves. None of these things are sovereign. They are rather examples of how we externalize our power to these individuals who we've grown so accustomed to handing it over to for countless centuries. So I get it, folks. We're just used to doing it and not questioning it, right? We don't stop and ask that probably most important, at least one of the most powerful questions. Why? You tell me this, you tell me that, but tell me why. Huh? You tell me this, you tell me that, but tell me why. Or let me find out for myself. And that's what it's time we do. Find out for ourselves. We must learn more about ourselves. Right? Like I said, learn about your pineal organ. Learn about your melanin, folks. Everybody has it. Black, white, Asian has some level of melanin. Now, we do have different forms of melanin, right? Different grades of melanin. Different concentration levels of melanin, right? But it's still important for everyone to know and understand about themselves, especially the highly melanated races, right? The darker skinned races, you know, that walk the planet. I'm getting away from all the black and white quite a bit, I'm finding, right? But, you know, the races of color, as is commonly referred. Certainly an incident of higher melanin concentration in a lot of those folks. But still, the color of one's skin is only one aspect of melanin's application, a very small one at that. The fact of melanin being implemented as a skin pigment is such a small aspect of what melanin actually is and means to all of us, right? To all races. Which again, I'm getting away from that word races, because races is a construct as well that led to the construct of racism. So anyway, yeah, everyone has melanin. We need to understand that. We need to understand the nature of existence, right? We need to understand some of the more basic rudimentary elements of quantum physics, right? That everything not only is energy, but exists both in particle and wave form simultaneously, right? And that all of existence is never at rest, but is always vibrating at some frequency, right? Whether it be low or high as we perceive it, but is constantly vibrating at some rate, which we determine or phrase as, or term as frequency. How frequency something vibrates in a given time frame is actually where we get that frequency term from. Usually measured in hertz or megahertz, right? Depending on what you're attempting to gauge. All right. So again, you know, understanding some of these things gives us a better understanding of who and what we are and what our true potential is. And then we can go back and revisit the thought that yes, we are actually fractals of our Creator, and we can accept, grasp, right, and thrive from that point. And that's important. We need that in these times ahead. We need to be mature, spiritually mature, I mean. We need to be spiritually mature, sovereign beings who determine our own course forward. We can do that, we must, and we will do that. We've already begun, right? Look at these beautiful children I keep pointing the finger to, how they're standing up. You know, my teenagers who always get talked about like they're just the dregs of society, so terrible, but yet they often, and especially as of late, have been the loudest and quickest voices to stand up and speak against injustices, right? And to show that they have a higher moral compass because they are already operating on a higher vibrational frequency. So folks, we can get there, but again, we have to understand more about ourselves, overstand, understand, however you want to phrase it. We need to know thyself, which will only bring us back to understanding that we are indeed fractals of our Creator. All right, let's shine as such, and I'm going to leave you on that. Big King Sadiq, worldwide movement, peace, love, respect.